Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are doing something a little different.
We really are. It's a bit of a pivot.
Yeah. Usually, we're tearing through modern tech trends or political theory, but today we're stepping into a time machine.
Very specific time machine.
Right. We are going back to the dusty, sun-drenched courtyards of early 20th century India. We're opening the pages of a book that, frankly, serves as a mirror to a society that was just breaking apart at the seams.
It really is a mirror, and not a flattering one either. We are talking about Nirmala by the legendary Munshi Premchand.
And for those of you who might not know, Premchand is a titan. He's often called the emperor of novels in Hindi literature.
He's foundational.
Absolutely. This
Yeah.
isn't just a story, it's a cultural document. But before we get lost in the tragedy, and spoiler alert, it is a heavy tragedy, we have a very important mission to acknowledge today.
That's right. Our mission for this deep dive is a full narration of the provided text. We are skipping no chapters, no critical parts. We're breaking down the entire arc.
Exactly. And we are able to bring you this deep dive today thanks to the incredible work done by the YouTube channel Simplified Summary. They actually provided the detailed chapter-by-chapter breakdown and analysis that we're using right now.
They did. And if you're the kind of person who wants to be well-read, but, finds the idea of wading through archaic prose a bit daunting, you need these guys.
Seriously, go to YouTube, search for Simplified Summary, and hit that subscribe button. Pause this deep dive right now if you have to.
Yeah, go subscribe and share the channel. They're doing the heavy lifting, so you don't have to. They are really keeping these classics alive for a new generation.
So a massive thank you to Simplified Summary. Now, are you ready to walk into the household of Babu Uday Lal?
I am. But I have to warn you, and I have to warn the listeners. Brace yourselves.
Yeah.
This is not a fairy tale.
Far from it.
This is a story about the corrosive power of money, the destruction of innocence, and how a single social institution, the dowry system, can act like a live grenade thrown right into a living room.
So let's set the scene. Part 1. The broken engagement and a father's tragic end. We start with a family that looks, at least on the surface, perfectly happy.
It's almost idyllic, really. We are introduced to Uday Lal. He's a lawyer. And in the early 1900s, being a lawyer meant you had made it.
You had serious status.
Exactly. He has status, he has a steady income, a highly respectable home, and he has 2 daughters. The older one is our protagonist, Nirmala. She's 15 years old.
And her younger sister.
That's Krishna, who is 10.
There is a very specific detail in the text about what they're doing when we first meet them, right?
Yes, there is. They are playing with dolls.
Which seems so normal, but it's important.
It's crucial. Premchand isn't just throwing that in for flavor. He wants you to understand that Nirmala, despite being 15, which, was considered marriageable age back then, is psychologically still a child.
Right, she's totally innocent.
Completely carefree. Her biggest worry in the world is getting her doll married to her sister's doll.
While, ironically, the adults in the room are busy planning her actual marriage.
Exactly. Her marriage has already been arranged to a young man named Bhuvan Mohan. And on paper, it is the absolute jackpot.
How so?
Well, Bhuvan is young, he's educated, he's handsome, he comes from a very wealthy family. He's the son of a man named Babu Palchandra Sinha. It's the kind of match that makes all the neighbors jealous.
And there was a specific condition about the dowry from the groom's side, wasn't there?
This is the hook that drags everyone in. Balchandra, the groom's father, explicitly told Uday Bhanu, "I don't want a dowry. I'm not selling my son. I just want your daughter."
Wow. I mean, that sounds incredibly progressive for that era. Almost too good to be true.
It was too good to be true. And deep down, Uday Bhanu knew it. See, Uday Bhanu is a man of the world. He's a lawyer. He knows that even if people say things to appear noble, they still expect things in order to maintain tradition.
The unwritten rules.
Exactly. He knows that if he sends his daughter off without a massive display of wealth, people are going to talk. They'll say, "Look at that cheap lawyer."
It's all about log kakahenge, what will people say?
Precisely. It's a massive ego trap. So even though the groom's father said no dowry, Uday Bhanu decides he is going to spend 20,000 rupees on this wedding.
Whoa. Let's just pause there for a second. 20,000 rupees. In today's economy, depending on where you are, that might not sound like a retirement fund. But in the early 1900s...
Oh, in the early 1900s, a few rupees could buy you a month's worth of grain. 20,000 rupees was an absolute fortune.
Like generational wealth.
Yes, it was enough to buy massive estates.
So he's planning to blow a literal fortune on a party and gifts Just for optics, just to stroke his own ego.
Correct. And this brings us to the first major crack in the foundation. His wife, Kalyani, is not on board.
She's the realist in the relationship.
She really is. She looks at the household books and basically says, "Are you out of your mind? We have other children. We have a life to live after this wedding is over. Why are we throwing 20,000 rupees into a fire just for applause?"
That seems like a very reasonable mathematical objection.
It is entirely reasonable. But to a man like Uday Bhanu, who really prides himself on being the provider, the big man of the house, this sounds like a direct attack.
He takes it personally.
Very personally.
Yeah.
He interprets her financial caution as disrespect. He thinks she's questioning his capability to provide.
It's a classic toxic masculinity moment. Like, don't tell me how to run my affairs, woman.
Exactly. And the argument gets heated. It's not just a minor bicker over breakfast. It's a full blowout. Uday Bhanu feels his ego is bruised. He wants to hurt her back. He wants to prove his ultimate value to the household.
So he makes a point.
A fatal decision, actually. He decides to storm out of the house.
The old "I'm gonna leave and then you'll be sorry" routine.
Yes. He threatens to go to Mirzapur for a few days. Thinks, I'll disappear. She'll panic, realizing she can't function without me, and when I come back, she'll be submissive.
He's trying to teach her a lesson.
Exactly. He even packs a bag. He puts his calling card in his pocket. Keep that detail in mind. It's important later. And he grabs his walking stick.
But he doesn't just go straight to the train station, does he?
No. He's heated. He needs to cool off. So he goes for a walk by the river. It's night. It's dark. And this is exactly where the genre of the story violently shifts from a domestic drama to a crime thriller.
Because he is not alone out there in the dark.
No. He realizes he's being followed. Now, Uday Bhanu isn't a coward. He's a prosecutor. He has spent his life putting bad men in jail. So he turns around and actually confronts the shadow.
And who is it?
It's a man named Matai. 3 years ago, Uday Bhanu had prosecuted Matai for theft or thuggery and sent him to prison.
Oh, no.
Matai has just been released, and he's been waiting for this exact moment.
Talk about holding a grudge.
Uday tries to use his authority.
Yeah.
He uses his big courtroom voice. He threatens to send Matai back to jail. He genuinely thinks the law protects him, even out here on the dark riverbank.
But the law is just ink on paper when you're facing a man holding a weapon.
Exactly. Matai is holding a lathi. That's a heavy bamboo stick, usually bound with iron rings at the end.
Yeah.
It is a highly lethal weapon in the right hands.
And Matai gives him an ultimatum.
Yes. Matai gives Uday Bhanu a choice. He says, swear on your life, right now, that you will never prosecute another man again.
He wants him to just give up his career, to bow down.
He wants total submission. But Uday Bhanu is far too proud for that. He refuses. So Matai starts a countdown. 1, 2, 3.
That is chilling.
On 3, he swings. He hits Uday Bhanu on the head with the lathi. It's a fatal blow. Uday Bhanu drops dead instantly.
Just like that, the patriarch, the provider, the man with the 20,000 rupee master plan, just gone.
Gone. Snuffed out in a second. Matai rifles through his pockets, takes his gold watch and his gold buttons, and just leaves the body there in the mud.
The irony there is sickening. I mean, he left the house specifically to teach his wife a lesson about how much she needs him. And he ends up proving it in the absolute worst possible way.
It's the ultimate tragedy of hubris, and the fallout is immediate. The police find the body fairly quickly because of that calling card he had put in his pocket. They bring him home.
Kalyani must be absolutely destroyed.
She is completely shattered. But you have to understand, it's a very complex grief. It's not just, I miss my husband. It's, I killed him.
Because of the argument.
Right. She firmly believes that if she hadn't argued about the budget, if she hadn't been so stubborn, he wouldn't have left the house. She takes the full, crushing weight of the guilt entirely on her own shoulders.
But the world doesn't stop for her grief. The wedding date is still circled on the calendar.
That's the sheer horror of her situation. The machinery of the wedding is already in motion. Invitations, expectations. But now, the bank vault is locked. The provider is dead. That 20,000 rupees simply doesn't exist.
So what does she do? She can't just cancel it, right? I mean, that would be a massive social scandal.
She tries to salvage it. She essentially relies on the humanity of the groom's family. She sends a family priest, a man named Totaram, to visit Balchandra, the groom's father.
She sends a message with him.
A desperate plea. Basically, my husband is dead. We are ruined. I cannot give you the grand wedding or the gifts we planned. But please, have mercy. Take my daughter. Honor the engagement anyway.
And this is the moment where we finally find out what Balchandra is really made of.
Remember how he said, I don't want a dowry.
Yeah, the progressive guy.
That progressive facade evaporates instantly. He puts on quite a performance at first. He acts very sad about Uday Bhanu's death. But then he starts talking about omens.
Omens.
Yes. He says, oh, it's so tragic. But, a death right before a wedding. That is very inauspicious. It's terribly bad luck.
He's using superstition as a convenient cover for his greed.
100%. He basically says he can't go through with it. He outright refuses to marry his son to a girl who comes with nothing. And it's not just the father who acts like this. The son, Puvan Mohan, the so-called perfect match, he shows his true colors too.
Really? Does he even try to fight for her?
Not at all. There is a scene where he talks to his sister-in-law. He admits, flat out, I can't marry a poor girl. I need the dowry money to set up my medical practice and my life.
Wait, his practice?
Yes. He views Nirmala purely as an investment vehicle, not a partner, not a wife.
So Nirmala is literally just a commodity to him.
Precisely. If the commodity doesn't come with a massive cash bonus attached, he's just not interested. So the engagement is completely broken off.
This puts Kalyani in an unbelievably desperate position. Because in that society, having a 15-year-old unmarried girl sitting in the house was seen as a ticking time bomb.
Right. It's a massive liability, a severe social stigma. And without a husband there to protect them, Kalyani literally feels the vultures circling. She needs to find a husband for Nirmala, and she needs to do it fast.
But she has 0 rupees for a dowry.
Exactly. So she has to scrape the absolute bottom of the barrel. Motoram, the matchmaker, brings her a list of new candidates. And it is a parade of horrors.
How bad are we talking?
Well, one guy is a known criminal. Another is severely sick. Another demands a huge dowry that she obviously can't pay. Finally, they find the only single option that is technically respectable and doesn't require any dowry up front.
And this introduces us to Munshi Totaram.
Munshi Totaram. Let's look at his bio.
Right.
Pro, he's a lawyer, so he has money. Con, literally everything else.
Give us the details. How bad is the mismatch?
Well, he is roughly 40 years old. Nirmala is 15. That is a 25-year age gap. He is a widower, and he comes with some serious baggage. 3 sons from his first marriage.
Oh, wow. How old are the sons?
The eldest, Mansaram, is 16.
Wait, stop. The eldest son is older than the new mother?
Yes. Mansaram is 16, Nirmala is 15. The middle son, Jiaram, is 12, and the youngest, Shiaram, is 7. Nirmala is essentially marrying into a ready-made family where the children are her actual peers.
That is just a recipe for disaster, but Kalyani says yes.
She feels she has absolutely no choice. She thinks, well, at least he has money. At least she won't starve to death. So the marriage happens.
And this brings us to part 2, the mismatched marriage. Nirmala moves into this house. It must be an unbelievable shock to this system.
It's a severe trauma. She goes from literally playing with dolls in the courtyard to running a household with 3 growing boys and a husband who looks exactly like her father. The text describes her transformation as instant. The light just goes out of her eyes. She becomes grave, silent, purely dutiful.
And what about Totaram? How does he handle suddenly having a teenage bride?
It triggers a massive, almost comical midlife crisis. He is acutely aware of the age gap. He knows he looks old. He knows he's fat. So instead of trying to connect with her emotionally or intellectually, he tries to mask his age physically.
Oh, no. Please don't tell me he gets a makeover.
It's pathetic, and it's tragic. He starts dyeing his gray hair black. He starts using scented oils and heavy perfumes. He buys these flashy, youthful, clothes-bright caps and kurtas that just look completely ridiculous on his aging frame. He's trying to play the role of a young romantic lover.
That sounds incredibly cringe-inducing.
It really is. He brings her gifts, expensive jewelry, basically trying to buy a smile from her. But Nirmala just retreats further inwards. She touches his feet out of respect. She cooks his food, but she shrinks away from him physically. She cannot see him as a husband. She sees him as an elder.
And the household dynamic isn't helping her settle in either. There's another woman living in the house, right?
Yes, Rukmini, Totaram's widowed sister. She has been living there for years, basically running the show ever since the first wife died. She was the queen bee of the household. Now, this 15-year-old girl walks in and technically outranks her.
So she's jealous.
She is furious. She sees Nirmala as a total usurper, a doll-playing bride who knows nothing about running a home. Rukmini immediately starts a campaign of psychological warfare. She criticizes the cooking. She mocks Nirmala's parenting of the boys. She constantly whispers poison in Totaram's ear.
But Nirmala does manage to find some connection in the house, doesn't she? Despite all of that.
She does. And this is genuinely the most heartbreaking part of the whole setup. She bonds with the sons. especially Mansaram.
Because they're basically the exact same age.
Exactly. They are peers. They are the only two people in that massive house who speak the same generational language, so to speak. Nirmala helps him with his homework. He teaches her some English words. They play word games together. They laugh together.
To a modern observer, that just sounds wholesome, like a normal sibling relationship.
It is entirely wholesome. Nirmala views him with a mix of maternal affection and just plain friendship. She is incredibly lonely, and he's a nice kid. But to a suspicious mind, and specifically to Rukmini's jealous mind, it looks like something else entirely.
She starts spreading rumors.
She starts dropping heavy hints to Totaram. Things like, oh, look how much time they spend together alone. It's not right for a stepmother and a teenage stepson to be laughing like that. People are talking.
And Totaram actually absorbs this.
He drinks it right up. Remember, he is already deeply insecure. He knows he's too old for Nirmala. Deep down, he fears that she should be with someone young and vibrant. So when Rukmini suggests she's with someone young, his worst fears essentially confirm themselves.
This leads us right into part 3, the poison of suspicion. This is really where the story pivots from just a bad, sad situation to an absolute catastrophe.
Yes. This is the psychological core of the novel. Premchand masterfully shows how suspicion acts exactly like a rod. Totaram stops seeing Mansaram as his son. He starts seeing him as a rival.
That is so twisted, to be jealous of your own flesh and blood.
It completely dehumanizes the boy. Totaram starts actively spying on him. There is a tense scene where Nirmala calls Mansaram into her room, maybe to give him food, or ask a simple question, and Totaram bursts in, eyes wide, desperately looking for evidence of something inappropriate.
That must be terrifying for the kids, to have him acting so erratic.
It creates a suffocating, toxic atmosphere. And Mansaram is a very smart boy. He is 16. He picks up on the vibe immediately. He realizes exactly what his father is thinking about him and Nirmala.
How does he react? Does he fight back or argue?
No. Mansaram is a very noble character. He is crushed by the shame of the accusation. He feels completely dirty. He thinks, my father thinks I am sleeping with my mother. The mere thought makes him want to just disappear. He feels that his very existence is ruining Nirmala's reputation.
So when Totaram decides to finally send him away,
Mansaram accepts it willingly. Totaram announces he is sending Mansaram to a boarding school hostel. He frames it to the family as being for his education, but everyone in that house knows the real truth. It's an exile. He is kicking his son out to remove his romantic rival.
so Mansaram goes to the hostel. Does the distance help the situation at all?
No. It literally kills him. In the hostel, Mansaram falls into a deep, dark depression. He stops eating. He stops taking care of himself. The text describes him developing a high fever and a severe wasting condition.
It sounds like tuberculosis, which was the common literary metaphor for a broken heart or extreme grief back then.
Exactly. He is wasting away from the intense shame and the sudden lack of love from his family. His younger brothers, Jiaram and Siaram, visit him. They even bring him sweets that Nirmala made specifically for him. But Mansaram flat out refuses to eat them. He refuses to come home. He says, I am an outcast.
He would rather die than go back and cause more suspicion for Nirmala.
He is actively sacrificing himself. His condition becomes absolutely critical. The doctors finally tell Totaram, you need to come right now. He is dying.
Does Totaram realize what he's done at this point?
Panic sets in. But the true guilt hasn't fully landed yet. Nirmala, however, has had enough. She has been enduring Totaram's coldness and the silent treatment for months. But hearing that Mansaram is dying, she snaps. She insists on going to the hospital immediately.
Good for her.
Totaram tries to stop her, mumbling about social norms and what will people say if you go to the men's hospital. But she ignores him completely. She goes.
And this hospital scene, this is really the climax of this arc.
It is the emotional peak of the entire book. Picture the scene. This sterile, cold hospital room. Mansaram is basically a skeleton, barely breathing. Totaram is standing there, terrified. Nirmala walks in.
What happens?
Mansaram gathers his absolute last ounce of strength. He doesn't reach for her hand. He doesn't cry out to her. He reaches down and he touches her feet.
The ultimate sign of respect for an elder in that culture. For a parent.
Exactly. By touching her feet, he is shouting without using any words. He is saying, I see you as my mother. My love for you is the pure love of a son for a mother. He looks directly at Totaram and says, she is pure.
Wow. Just wow.
And with that final vindication, he dies.
That must have absolutely shattered Totaram.
It completely breaks him. In that exact moment, the fog of jealousy finally lifts, and he sees the ugly truth. He realizes that his suspicion, his baseless, insecure, filthy suspicion, has killed his eldest, most promising son.
You would think that this is rock bottom. Losing a child is the worst possible thing that can happen. But Nirmala isn't done yet.
No. The grand tragedy of Nirmala is that it's a relentless domino effect. Mansaram was just the first domino. His death knocks over everything else. We move right into part 4, the unraveling of the family.
So how does the house collapse from here?
First, economically. Totaram is destroyed by his grief. He simply can't work. He stops going to court. He stops taking new cases.
And if a lawyer doesn't work, the money stops.
Immediately. The family rapidly slides from comfortable middle-class status into genuine grinding poverty. They are struggling to buy basic food. And this incredible stress hits the remaining sons, Jairam and Siaram, very hard.
Let's talk about Jairam. He's the middle child. How does he handle this trauma?
Jairam reacts with pure anger. He's not the noble, self-sacrificing sufferer like Mansaram was. He's a teenager with a massive grudge. He squarely blames Nirmala. He thinks, you came into this house and now my brother is dead and we are poor. It's all your fault.
So he rebels?
Hard. He stops studying. He starts hanging out with loafers and bad crowds in the streets. And he desperately wants to maintain his old lifestyle despite the family's new poverty. So he turns to actual crime.
What does he do?
He steals from his own home. He steals Nirmala's jewelry box. It's basically the last asset of any real value they have left in the world.
That is a seriously low blow. Does Nirmala catch him doing it?
She knows. She sees it's gone. She knows exactly who did it. But she stays completely silent. She is terrified that if she openly accuses him, Totaram will lash out violently or the police will come and the family will be dragged through even more public humiliation.
But the police do get involved anyway, right?
Yes. A police officer, Thanadar Aliar Khan, comes to the house to investigate the missing jewels. Totaram, still desperately trying to save face, refuses to let them search the house or officially suspect his son. But the pressure is intensely on. Jairam knows the walls are closing in rapidly.
And the guilt of it all?
The guilt, the paralyzing fear of prison, the intense shame of being exposed as a common thief in his own house, it completely overcomes him. Jairam commits suicide. He takes poison.
That's 2 sons gone.
2 sons down. And now we look at the youngest. Siaram. He's just a little boy, 7 or 8 years old by now. He has watched his eldest brother die a slow death. He has watched his middle brother kill himself. And his parents. Totaram is a walking zombie of grief, and Nirmala has become incredibly bitter.
Bitter. That's a shift for her.
Yes, and this is a very realistic psychological touch by Premchand. Nirmala isn't a magical saint who just smiles through endless suffering. The grinding poverty and the constant stress make her highly irritable. She snaps at Siaram constantly.
There's a specific incident mentioned in the summary about ghee, isn't there?
The ghee incident, yes.
Yeah.
Such a small, mundane domestic detail, but it breaks the camel's back. Siaram is sent to the market to buy ghee-clarified butter for the cooking. The shopkeeper actively cheats him because he's just a little kid. He gives him bad quality stuff or he shortchanges him.
And when he gets home with it?
Nirmala completely loses it. She screams at him. She outright refuses to cook with the bad ghee. She treats him with deep contempt.
And Siaram feels completely isolated.
He thinks, if my real mother were alive, she wouldn't treat me this way. Nobody in this house loves me. He wanders off into the streets and meets a fake sadhu, a charlatan holy man named Baba Parmanand. The sadhu sees a highly vulnerable kid and promises him a life of adventure and freedom, far away from this miserable, depressing house.
So Siaram just runs away.
He disappears into the night with the sadhu. Totaram spends months desperately searching for him. He wanders from city to city looking for his last remaining son, but he never finds him. Siaram is just gone.
So the house is completely empty, all 3 sons, the entire legacy of the family just wiped out.
Wiped out. It's just Totaram, Nirmala, and a young infant daughter that Nirmala gave birth to during all this chaos.
It's almost unimaginable. But we have to talk about part 5. Because while the house is literally burning down around them, there is a parallel story happening right next door.
Yes. The tragic story of Sudha and Dr. Sinha.
Sudha is Nirmala's friend.
Sudha is the ultimate foil in the novel. She is everything Nirmala isn't. She is Nirmala's wealthy, highly respected neighbor. She is seemingly very happy. She is married to a very successful doctor, Dr. Sinha.
And Dr. Sinha has a direct connection to Nirmala's past.
This is the truly cruel twist of fate in the plot. Dr. Sinha is the brother of Bhuvan Mohan.
Wait, Bhuvan Mohan. The guy Nirmala was originally supposed to marry in Chapter 1. The guy who rejected her because her father died and she didn't have the dowry.
The very same. The family that rejected Nirmala is the exact same family that Sudha happily married into. And to make it even more bitterly ironic, Nirmala's younger sister, Krishna, ends up marrying Dr. Sinha's younger brother later on.
So Nirmala was the only one left out in the cold. Her sister got into the wealthy family. Sudha got into the family. Only Nirmala was rejected.
Exactly. It sharply highlights how completely arbitrary her suffering was. If Uday hadn't died that exact night, or if the timing was just slightly different, Nirmala would have been the happy, comfortable wife in the rich house. Instead, she's the destitute, miserable wife next door.
So Sudha seems to have the absolute perfect life.
Until the rot spreads to them too. Nirmala, now living in extreme poverty, visits Sudha's house. She's just looking for a little comfort. Sudha happens to be out bathing in the river. Dr. Sinha is home entirely alone.
I really don't like where this is going.
You shouldn't. Dr. Sinha sees Nirmala. She is severely aged by her grief. She is dressed in literal rags, but he sees her intense vulnerability. He remembers that she was once considered very beautiful, and he makes a move.
He hits on her.
It's so much worse than just hitting on her.
Yeah.
It's predatory. He pretends to look for his glasses in the room where she is resting. He tries to touch her. He actively tries to seduce her while she is at her absolute lowest.
This woman has lost everything. Her stepsons are dead. She's starving. And he thinks, oh, here's an opportunity.
It perfectly shows the moral bankruptcy of the so-called respectable class. Nirmala is horrified. She starts weeping uncontrollably. She feels completely, utterly degraded.
Does Sudha find out about this?
She comes back from the river and instantly senses the terrible tension in the room. Nirmala tries to hide it because she doesn't want to ruin Sudha's happy marriage. But Sudha intensely presses her, and the ugly truth comes out.
How does Sudha react? In a lot of stories from that era, the wife blames the other woman. Does she blame Nirmala?
No. Sudha is really the moral compass of the book. She turns and confronts her husband. She unleashes on him. She brutally calls him out for his hypocrisy, his utter filth. She says, "You are not a man. You are a beast."
And Dr. Sinha, the highly successful, wealthy, respected doctor.
He simply cannot handle the reflection in the mirror.
Yeah.
Being exposed by his own wife, the crushing shame of his vile actions being dragged into the light, he crumbles entirely. He commits suicide.
Oh, it's just...
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, the text implies he takes poison or suffers a massive heart failure from the sheer shock and shame of it. He dies.
So even the perfect family is completely destroyed.
Premchand is making a very sharp point here. No amount of money or social status protects you from the deep moral rot of society. The dowry system and the patriarchal objectification of women ultimately destroy everyone, the poor lawyer and the rich doctor alike.
Which brings us to the final, incredibly bleak chapter, part 6, Nirmala's end.
Nirmala returns to her silent, empty home. She is physically shattered by everything that has happened. She contracts a severe wasting illness, likely the exact same grief-induced sickness that took Mansaram. She is practically a skeleton at this point.
And she still has her infant daughter to worry about.
That is her absolute only tether to the earth. She looks at her little girl and she is terrified. She thinks, who will protect her? Will she suffer exactly like I did? Will she be sold for a dowry?
Who is even left to help her?
Rukmini, the bitter aunt who made her life a living hell in the beginning. In the very end, seeing the total absolute destruction of the entire family, Rukmini finally softens. She desperately tries to nurse Nirmala. She feels the heavy weight of her own complicity in the tragedy.
But it's too little, too late.
Far too late. Nirmala is actively dying. With her last breaths, she entrusts her baby daughter to Rukmini, and she dies with a terribly heavy heart, fully blaming herself for everything. She thinks, I was the curse. I walked into this house, and everyone died.
That is genuinely the saddest part. She dies firmly believing it was all her fault.
When in reality, she was the ultimate victim of everyone else's terrible choices. Udayavanu's stubborn pride, Balchandra's blind greed, Totaram's pathetic insecurity, Rukmini's petty jealousy. She just absorbed all their blows until she finally broke.
And the book just ends there.
It ends with her death. Premchand writes a very poetic final line that the bird of life finally flew away from the cage of suffering. It's framed as a release.
Wow, okay. That is incredibly heavy. It's just relentless from start to finish.
It is, but that's exactly why it is considered a masterpiece. It refuses to look away from the ugly truth.
So let's try to pull some clear takeaways from this wreckage. Why did Premchand write this? What is the core message you want listeners to walk away with?
There are really two main pillars here. First, the dowry system itself.
Which is clearly the root of all evil in the book.
It is the primary catalyst. Just trace it back. If Uday Bhanu hadn't felt the immense societal pressure to spend 20,000 rupees, he wouldn't have fought with Kalyani. He wouldn't have left the house in a rage. He wouldn't have been murdered by Matai. And if Pol Chandra hadn't demanded a dowry after the death, Nirmala would have married Bhuvan Mohan, a proper age-appropriate match. None of this nightmare would have happened.
It fundamentally commodifies human beings. It turns a marriage into a cold financial transaction.
Correct. And the second major pillar is what's called bajor viva, or the mismatched marriage.
The massive age gap.
Yes. Premchand is fiercely arguing that marriage requires genuine compatibility. Not just caste compatibility, but emotional and psychological equality. Forcing a 15-year-old girl to marry a 40-year-old man created a massive structural imbalance right from day one. It bred deep insecurity in Totaram.
And that insecurity turned into the toxic suspicion that ultimately killed his own son.
Exactly. Totaram wasn't born a monster. The twisted situation made him a monster. He knew deep down he didn't belong with her. So his paranoid mind assumed someone else did.
It's also really a story about the total collapse of the middle class, isn't it?
It is. It sharply shows how incredibly fragile that respectability really is.
Yeah.
One sudden death, one bad financial decision, and a proud lawyer's family is reduced to practically begging in the streets. It completely strips away the thin veneer of security.
And finally, there's the silence.
The silence.
Yeah, the silence of everyone else in the background, the neighbors, the extended society. Nobody stepped in. Nobody went to Balchandra and said, hey, maybe don't demand a dowry from a grieving widow. Nobody went to Totaram and said, hey, stop acting crazy about your own son.
That is a profound point. The true villain in Nirmala isn't really one single person. It's the collective, suffocating apathy of a society that rigidly values tradition over actual human life.
Well, this has been a really tough one, but an incredibly important one. Nirmala is basically a massive warning flare shot up from history.
It absolutely is. And while laws have certainly changed since the early 1900s, the extreme pressures of dowry and the complex issues of compatibility are still very real conversations happening today.
Before we sign off, I want to remind you all one last time. This deep dive was entirely based on the incredible source material provided by Simplified Summary on YouTube.
Please take a second and go subscribe to them. Like their videos. If you appreciated this detailed breakdown, it's entirely because of their hard work in organizing the text for us. Support them so they can keep doing it.
Yes, definitely subscribe to Simplified Summary. And here's a final thought for you to just mull over as you go about the rest of your day. We spent a lot of time talking about how much Nirmala suffered. But ask yourself this. In a rigid system where absolutely everyone is just blindly playing an assigned role, the proud provider father, the greedy status-obsessed in-law, the jealous aging husband, is it even possible for a genuinely good person to survive? Or does the system inevitably chew them up no matter what they do?
That really is the central question Premchand leaves us with.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.